All right. All right, so good morning. We've got kind of a small group, so actually we should try to make this interactive. I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes. I'll start with some of my background and then share some lessons of what I've learned over the last 13 years of being a tech entrepreneur here in Silicon Valley. And then I definitely want to leave time for Q&A at the end to make sure that we address really what you guys want to hear about. So as Jen said, I'm Rick Marini. I'm the founder and CEO of Branchout. Hopefully you guys are using Branchout. It's the largest professional network on Facebook. And some quick background on me. So I started my first company in 1999 called Tickle.com. Tickle was the largest personality testing site in the world. We had about 200 million registered users. And some of the lessons from Tickle, some of you may have used Tickle back in the day. The IQ test ended up being our most popular, but we started the company with some serious tests. We started with like the anxiety test and the depression test and stuff like that. And it turns out, one of the things we found when we had very little people coming to the site, it's not that interesting to hear how depressed your friends are. Right? So we needed to quickly shift gears. And what we did is we started doing more fun tests. And one of the tests that really took off for us was called What Breed of Dog Are You? Which we basically took your personality and said if you were a dog, you would be this. And we moved away from the serious stuff. And in December of 1999, we did 1 million page views on the site, which is not very much at all. And then when we launched the dog test, we did 1 million per day. And then we followed that up with a test called the Celebrity Matchmaker. And that test had some different celebrities that if, based on your personality, you'd be matched up with. One of those that we put in place was Howard Stern. And all these women started calling up Howard Stern's show, and I'm your perfect match, and all that stuff. And it melted our servers, and we really took off from there. The lessons from that is that people really want to share fun content, and people are social. If you have great content and you make that shareable for these people, they will do that. The second company, and then we ended up building Tickle up to be a big company, and we sold to Monster for about $100 million, and that was a great exit. And then I left Tickle and started my second company called Superfan. Superfan was a social entertainment site. We built Facebook apps and social games, and we worked with companies like CBS and MTV and Sony and others. And with Superfan, we learned two things. One, how to build on the Facebook platform, which I'll talk a lot about with Branchout. And the second thing we learned was the difference of spiky traffic, these hockey sticks, versus long, sustainable growth at more of a 45-degree angle. And with Superfan, we had a lot of spurts of virality. We would hit on kind of a vein of gold and go really fast and then kind of burn it out. And that's not what you want to do long term. It's really fun and it sounds sexy when you start to do that hockey stick. The issue is as fast as it goes up, it can come right back down. And that's typically how these things work. And that was one of the lessons from Superfan. So then we applied that. And about 2 years ago, we pivoted the team from Superfan over to Branchout. And we actually relaunched Branchout about a week ago. So we've got a totally different UI, totally different look and feel. And now we've got more of a professional timeline where we had started Branchout really as what I would say a tool or a utility. And that utility was showing you where all your Facebook friends work, and then also showing you where their friends work. So it became really powerful, and the press likes to call us LinkedIn on Facebook, although we're doing something different. But that was utility. The issue with the utility, though, is it tends to be used more episodically. So you tend to go to a site like Monster, which is kind of in our general space, whenever you need a job. That might be every 4, 5, 6 years, right? Not something that you have a daily use case for. So we realized that, we stepped back and we realized we need to go beyond a utility, beyond that episodic use case, and try to build something more towards a daily or at least weekly engagement. We're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so stepping back from that, building a high growth business. So you've got to have a couple things in place. One, you have to build a valuable product. And I'm talking about sustainable growth, building a real company, not building some kind of spammy quiz app that gets hot on Facebook for a week and then gets shut down and doesn't go anywhere. But I mean building for the long term. You've got to build a valuable product. And then beyond that, you need two other things. One, you need a reason why people are going to want to invite all their friends. For us at Branchout, we're in what I would call a network effect business. meaning the larger the network, the more powerful it becomes. So everybody wants to invite their friends because it increases the value of their network. And then connected with that, you need to give them the easy ability to be able to invite all their friends. And for us, Facebook is now 1 billion monthly active users. So we've got this huge pool to be able to tap into. And then you need to be able to use the different channels that Facebook affords, whether it's notifications or wall posts or emails, to be able to get these people back in. So unfortunately, there's no secret sauce to this stuff. Long-term sustainable growth is not an accident. It's a lot of hard work. It's starting with those pillars, again, of having a real product, real value add, a reason for them to invite. But there's no secret sauce. There's not a silver bullet that I'm going to talk about today. It's really about a lot of blocking and tackling and execution. So we have a growth team at Branchout. And what they do every morning, I tell them, you come in, and because we're on the Facebook platform and they move so fast, you come in and you have a new puzzle to figure out every day. And Facebook is it's an incredible platform, but it's challenging because they move so quickly. So we've committed 4 people out of our 40-something, so almost 10% of my staff, to just focusing on engagement and growth. And in the first phase of our company, we really focused a lot on user acquisition over the first 2 years of the company. And now we're at a point where we're moving away from user acquisition as our focus to more about engagement. Engagement metrics around retention, time on site, invites, and invites not using a kind of a mass uploader kind of approach, but really inviting around value add. Someone tags you in a photo, someone mentions you, someone comments, things that people really want to know about, and not just getting invited to something. So the other thing about a growth team is that you have to make the commitment that you are going to spend resources, going to spend money to go after this, to go after these growth initiatives, because there's companies like Branchout or Zynga or others that have really committed to this. And that's kind of the unfair advantage that companies like that have, is that we're in there every day watching these changes. So we're seeing this before a lot of other companies see it. And because Facebook moves so fast, either you're there quickly and you react to these changes, or you're getting left further and further behind, because by the time you can react to this later on, they've probably already changed beyond that. Okay, so again, there's no silver bullet to this. It's really just executing, right? So we are running dozens of tests every day, different copy, different colors, different buttons. It's really blocking and tackling, and what we're doing is we're learning more and more what our users are doing. So we're tracking everything and using that data to be able to give the user a better experience and to be able to increase our conversion rates or our metrics that are important to us. And then it's just rinse and repeat and do it over and over and over. And if you're getting kind of 1 to 2 to 5% increases in all these things per day, you can imagine how quickly that compounds. If that was your stock portfolio and you're getting 1% a day, think about that kind of return over a year. So that's really what we're doing every day. It's just about testing, iterating, learning, and doing it again. Some of the different analytics packages that we use Mixpanel, we use Optimizely, Google Analytics. We've got our own homegrown solution. So these are all part of our daily use. Every day our growth team is digging into all of these numbers. Okay. And then what happens is sometimes this stuff works. When you bring all that stuff together, in the last 2 years since we started the company, we've registered over 30 million users and been able to raise 3 rounds of funding totaling 49 million. So when these things come together, I think there's some luck, there's first mover advantage, there's, I've been doing this for 13 years, but when this all comes together, it becomes really, really powerful. Okay, so our goal every day when we come in is to move the needle a little bit more, right? So I talked about the testing and the iteration and trying to move that forward, but I think you also have to rethink your priorities. And as I mentioned, we just came out with a relaunch of Branchout. And for the first 2 years, again, we were that episodic use case, that utility. But at a certain point, you've got to step back. And that's what we did. About a year into the company, we started to really see things take off. And we went from having a couple million users, monthly active users, in December, about 1 million to 3 million to 5 million to 7 million to 13 million. All right, we just really took off in a 5 or 6 month period. And that was great, but it was all hands on deck trying to just keep the site up. I mean, you know, rubber bands, Band-Aids, whatever, duct tape, just trying to keep the site up. The issue is that when you have all your engineering resources focused just on the tech, you don't develop your product at the same kind of rate, right? So it was super fun and sexy and all that stuff to see that growth, but you've got to focus on product too. So once we got over kind of that 10 million MAU, we closed the last 25 million of funding in May, we decided with the board to step back from user acquisition and focus on having a real product. A product that's a long-term, real community focused on a daily or weekly use case, not on an episodic. So that's what we did. We stepped back and we actually, for the last 5 months, we kind of were in maintenance mode on the existing site. And then we put our heads down and we built the new Branchout. So now this is the activity feed. Before you saw the professional timeline, which are my professional posts. This is an activity feed of all the posts around you from your friends in a professional way. So as an example, this conference here, you know, you may want to take pictures with your colleagues or with speakers or other guests here, and you could post those on Facebook, but Facebook is really your personal hub, it's your social hub. So we wanted a place that's somewhere in between, which is, it's social, but it's really the professional side of you, and allowing recruiters and others to see that professional side. So we've got this activities feed. Upper in the right corner, you see grow your network. So it's still very much this network effect business, and you want to give people the quick, easy ability to allow them to invite people to follow. So it's all about engaging them and giving them an interactive experience. This is our highlights. So you've got a resume, a timeline, and highlights. So this is giving people this beautiful experience, what's important to you beyond the resume. And this is something that people can interact with, again, on a daily basis. Don't make it a utility or a tool, but give people a reason to come back. Make it visual. People relate to human flesh, skin. They want to be able to see that. That really engages people. And then we have Discover. So Discover is, for those of you who use Pinterest, this probably looks similar. It's professional discovery. So we've got 30 million members on Branchout, and this is bubbling up all the best professional content that they're all posting. So it gives you professional discovery. So the other thing that's been really interesting for us, last December, we launched our first mobile app, an HTML5 app within Facebook. And we had 0 mobile traffic at that point. Within 30 days, we went from 0 to 25% of our traffic. And I think the reason for that, and it was kind of hard to find, it was an HTML5 app within Facebook, Facebook mobile. And I think what happened there is that we started to hit a different audience that we had never hit before. An audience in emerging markets like India and Brazil, where their computer is not the Mac Air you guys are using, but it's right here, it's their cell phone. That's how a lot of the world is accessing the internet, especially in these emerging markets. So we all of a sudden saw this surge, again, in India and Brazil and these emerging markets once we launched mobile. And now today, mobile represents over 40% of our traffic. And I think that's going to continue to grow. And by next year, it probably flips where it's 60% mobile and continuing to grow. So mobile absolutely should be part of your strategy. Mobile is not going away. Mobile now smartphones represent over 50% of all phones out there. For a long time it was feature phones, and now it's smartphones. So finally, with everyone having a smartphone, they have access to the internet. So my 2 themes for you beyond the viral execution is mobile and social. So for us, for Branchout, where I live is on Facebook. So Facebook to me is the ultimate platform. There's 1 billion people to tap into. And by the way, Facebook has over 550 million people coming to access Facebook via mobile. So that's a huge part of Facebook's overall user base. You've probably heard a lot about Facebook. How are they going to monetize mobile? The good news for them is that they're thinking about it. They know they have to do that. But for Facebook and for Branchout, mobile, really important. So being able to tap into a platform like Facebook has been huge for us. It allowed us to get 30 million users in less than 2 years. And if you look at kind of the history of apps on Facebook, the last kind of 2 or 3 years have been dominated by social gaming companies like Zynga, Playdom, Playfish, Kabam, and others. And I think they provide a lot of value to Facebook in terms of revenue, but also retention. right? People come back every day to play these games, and that's been great, but only about half of Facebook loves the games and the other half really doesn't. I think going forward, though, you're going to see the emergence of these utilities that have social baked in on day one, where it's a better experience to interact with these types of utilities with your friends. So whether it's ticketing or travel or dating or professional networking or music or photos, these are all examples of companies that play in those areas. Your experience is enhanced when it's social. And this is a big push for Facebook to go beyond gaming and really work with companies like this, and we're all kind of key partners for Facebook to be able to enhance that experience. And Facebook knows how important social is to be able to help companies like all of these to take Facebook to the next level, as well as their own companies. So it's about social, it's about mobile, and it's about finding that value-add product with the viral hooks. So I'm going to end there because I want to make sure I leave time for Q&A. So who's first? Yes?
How much of your business is reliant upon having business clients and providing analytics or insights to them versus just depending on like user acquisition and things like that on the consumer side?
Sure, yeah. So for us, we're really more focused on the consumer experience right now. So we really want to, continue to provide that great value to our users and crank those numbers up. And for us, we talked about the consumer side being a network effect business, but it is on the enterprise side as well for us, in that a lot of our paying clients are recruiters and sales professionals that want to be able to tap into this market. So we're not in the market, at least today, to provide data analytics or that kind of information for companies trying to find data. To us, it's really about connecting job seekers or professional networkers, people who are trying to build the value of their network, with the recruiters and with sales professionals. So we are more in the business of identifying the right person and trying to provide a path to a warm introduction, and then monetizing the connection between those two. I think data is really interesting. I mean, big data is super hot right now. So it's definitely a really interesting industry. It's just not the one that we're really going after. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, yes, sorry.
My name's John. I'm the CEO of Boombox. So I love the fact that you guys tested, and I'm a big believer in that. Can you talk a little bit about what happens when you find what works and you kind of change the culture from, have you seen any obstacles to changing the culture from being this like testing and iterating culture to one that focuses on just that thing that works?
Yeah, so I think a good lesson for us related to that is, we got really excited and enamored with that user growth. I mean, we were adding hundreds of thousands of users per day with zero marketing, right? And that gets really exciting. The hard part for us was stepping back and saying, you know what, if these users aren't coming back on a daily basis, we need to shift our thinking and really build a product that goes after that. And I think the hardest thing was for our growth team that had this well-oiled machine that the way my analogy to that is, we had this really souped up Honda Accord cruising around the racetrack, highly tuned, but at a certain point, that's not the car you're racing with. Take that car off the track, get a Ferrari on there, and then step back and start to tune that thing. And it's hard when you've done all that work and you're highly tuned to say, you know what, that's not where we want to be long term, and trying to shift that mentality to your team to understand that we're building a company here for the next 10 years, not the next 10 months, and that and you've got to be able to shift from user acquisition to engagement, because engagement is where it's at. I mean, you guys all want to build big companies. If you don't have an engaging product, I'll give an example of valuations in my industry. Monster, again, more of an episodic use case, is worth about 800 million market cap. LinkedIn is a $12 billion market cap because LinkedIn understood engagement and building a community, and Monster was just that episodic tool. They have a lot of users, but that's not where I want to be, and I don't think that's where any of you want to be. You want to build that community. And it's hard to move away from something that really took off and is really sexy to say we're going to kind of start over here with this new product. And long term, the team gets that we all are on the same page and want to build a big company. But there is some learning and education on why we want to go away from something so highly tuned. Okay. Hey.
Is that on? Okay. Rick, Eric Newton. I run a law firm here in the city. So I'm really interested in the notion of, or the idea of building a personal brand. And I think some people use Facebook to build personal brands, and some people just post pictures of their dog. And Branchout is clearly all about building a professional brand. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that some people are appearing a bit superficial in their developing of their brand these days, or maybe a little douchey. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on sort of the secret sauce of building a brand and how to do that effectively.
Yeah, I think you need to be authentic when you're building your brand. I think you need to be careful that you're not overexposed. But obviously, as you're building a brand, you need to get yourself out there, right? You need to be posting on Twitter and Facebook and hopefully Branchout. You need to be coming to conferences and meeting people and putting the time in. Any of these guys who have really become kind of well known have done two things. One, they've networked a lot, so they know all the players, and number two, they're known for something beyond just being at the conferences, because to earn the respect, you really need to build something that's interesting, right? So it's the old phrase, it's not who you know, it's what you know. That's half of it. It's also what you know, because if you know a lot, if you produce a lot, if you contribute a lot to the ecosystem, people want to be around you, they want to learn from you. So to me, it's about producing a great product and getting people excited around you, your customers, your users, your employees, and then getting out there and evangelizing that. So it's both the what you know and who you know, and doing that in an authentic way. And I think that can be, I think Twitter is great, I think Facebook is great, I think Branchout is great. I mean, there's all these different outlets, Pinterest, all these different outlets to do that. And you can do it in a non-cheesy way. But it really is about being authentic as you post.
How do you articulate a success or an accomplishment effectively without coming across? How do you do the humble brag versus the full brag?
I think the humble part is more important. It may still be a humble brag, but being humble and being genuinely excited. I mean, I'm excited every day that I run Branchout. I'm excited every day that I come to conferences like this and talk to people. That's sincere. It's who I am, and I think people can see that or see through that if it's not. And I think part of that is also limiting how much you do. At a certain point, people, okay, enough, right? So limiting that to what's really important to you. And sharing that with hopefully the people that care about you and want to see you succeed. And the other thing connected to that, when you're available and you try to help and mentor people, I think that shows the world and others who you really are, right? So if it's all about you and all about you posting your accomplishments and you're not giving back and helping other younger entrepreneurs succeed, then I don't think you're doing the full job of being that leader. So I try to do a lot of that because I care, because I want others to succeed, and I want to help build a positive ecosystem in Silicon Valley. That's my formula.
Great, thank you.
Good. We'll end there. Oh, one more.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm live. Okay. I'm Liz. I have a marketing consulting firm, and I was interested to hear more about your revenue model. Is it mostly monetizing the recruiters and the sales professionals, or is and then how does international sort of fold into your revenue model?
Yeah, so it's a subscription-based product where the recruiter, a sales professional, basically gets advanced features so they can have more insight into those connections. There's also job posts or a large job board on Facebook, about 3 million jobs and internships. So those are the two main revenue drivers. In terms of international, 50% of our traffic actually is outside the US, but a lot of the monetization actually happens in the US today. Longer term, I think US will always be number one. I'm confident about that. But I think there's a lot of pockets, obviously within Europe and in some parts of Asia and Japan in particular, that are interesting for us to monetize. The harder part, though, is that even within Europe, you've got different countries with different ways that they do professional networking. As an example, Germany tends to be much more protective and privacy-centric than France or some of the other countries. So it's you've got to have the humility to know you don't know all of the local customs. So at a certain point, we will get local people in those countries to be able to help us make sure that we're giving those users the best experience. Right now, the revenue is really more focused on the US though, and hopefully next year we get more towards international. All right, I'm gonna end there so we keep everyone on time. Thank you very much.